What's going on, family? I'm Scrapbook Boxing. The Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series will continue its conversation with you concerning the complete history of boxing. I've spoken about you concerning Kid Chocolate and Tony Canzanari once on my platform. I'm going to repeat the conversation in more depth. We're in the middle of 1920s, heading towards 1930s, and I believe that the main players should be profiled in a series such as this one. Now, we know Kid Chocolate to be the Cuban Bong Bong. He was born January 6, 1910, and died August 8, 1988 in Cuba. Had the pleasure of meeting, once in my life, Kid Chocolate. He was a small man with a wonderful smile. What a Hall of Famer. The men he was in a ring with. It's mind-boggling. And the pleasure was all mine to meet Kid Chocolate. To this day, I think about that and it's amazing. Great fighter. He had 152 total bouts, 136 wins, 52 knockouts, and 10 losses. Some will tell you 50 knockouts, some will say 51 knockouts. But the majority of the records that I have state 52 knockouts, and we will go with that in this video. He had 6 draws, stood 5 foot 6 inches, weighed 120 to 132 pounds. He was in the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1951 and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1994. Here's a man who sparred with such greats of Benny Leonard and Jack Johnson and hundreds in between. He fought from October 22nd, 1927 to December 18th, 1938. I'm going to mention some of the names that Kid Chocolate was in a ring with. And what I want you to do as I mention those names is think of the fighter that you most admire today. And imagine if he was in the ring in his career with the caliber of fighters of the men that I'm going to name that Kid Chocolate was in the ring with. And just imagine how often and all the Hall of Famers that your fighter today that you most admire would have before his career was over on his record. Just think about that for one moment. Kid Chocolate was in the ring with Eddie Shea, an Al Singer, Lou Feldman and Chick Shuggs, Bushy Graham and Eddie O'Dowd, Tommy Watson, Benny Bass, Pete Nebo and Jackie Kid Bird, Fidel LaBarber and Johnny Farr, Steve Smith, Tommy Paul, Tony Canzanari and P.D. Hayes, Buster Brown, Simon Chavez, Lou Feldman, just to name a few. He had 24 bouts in 1937, fighting 170 rounds in 1 year alone. He won the Club Cabana Amateur Championship 1924, September 1922, La Noche Amateur Championships, had well over 100 bouts and no losses according to ring record. 1928, he had 24 bouts. November 8th, 1928, was in the ring with Pinky Silverbird. May 22nd, 1929, Bronx, New York, 10 rounds. He would defeat Fidel LaBarber. Fidel LaBarber would win the flyweight championship title. We'll talk about him. But he was also an Olympian. He would take on Petey Cerrone, who would eventually become the featherweight champion of the world when he defeated Freddie Miller. Cerrone would lose his crown in 1937 to the first black American featherweight champion, Henry Armstrong. Fidel LaBarber was born September 29, 1905 in New York. He died October 3, 1981 in Los Angeles, California. I had the pleasure of meeting Fidel LaBarber. He stood 5 foot 3 inches, weighed 112 to 124 pounds. It was managed by George Blake, and if you don't know who George Blake is, I'll remind you. Henry Armstrong was facing Severino Garcia, 1940. It was for Garcia's NBA middleweight championship title. And Henry Armstrong, prior to that, was a welterweight and featherweight and lightweight champion. He had all 3 titles simultaneously. The title he had coming into this match was the welterweight championship title. Now, the problem that Henry Armstrong and Severino Garcia would have, more so Henry Armstrong, was that New York, Madison Square Garden, but the New York SAC would not recognize a 10-round championship title bout. And that was designed so that the fight would go to California, which recognized the 10-round championship title bout. So George Blake, who was a manager of many fighters, was planted by the mob to referee this title bout. They wanted to secure Severino Garcia facing another middleweight who they can make a lot of money from. And Henry Armstrong did not fit the bill. So George Blake would take away 5 rounds from Henry Armstrong in a 10-round bout, calling it a draw. At the end of the bout, he would fly out of the ring, running out of the arena after he handed his card to the judges. During that time, there were 2 judges and 1 referee who would score the fight. And George Blake would be found on the corner trying to catch a cab. He would be brought back in by the authorities, and he would mention that he was planted by the mob to rob Henry Armstrong of becoming a 4th world champion of featherweight to middleweight. You see, at that time, you only had 1 black middleweight champion, and that was Theodore Tiger Flowers in 1926 when he would defeat Harry Greb in New York's Madison Square Garden. And they didn't want Henry Armstrong to become number 2. Actually, he was number 3. William Gorilla Jones was number 2. So you had Tiger Flowers and William Gorilla Jones. Henry Armstrong would have been number 3. And Ray Robinson would have been number 4. So Ray Robinson is number 3. The 3rd middleweight champion in boxing history is the black fighter is Ray Robinson. Henry Armstrong would have been the 3rd one had he not been robbed. Just wanted to be clear. And it's unfortunate because that's not the first time that happened in boxing history. Fidel Barber would win the flyweight championship crown in 1927. The men he was in the ring with is mind-blowing. Pedro Villa, Elkie Chalk. He was in Willie Lamont and Charles Bud Taylor, Memphis Powell Moore and Santiago Zarilla, Peter Cerrone and California Joe Lynch, Tommy Paul and Frankie Gennaro, Kid Chocolate, Earl Mastro, Charles Bud Taylor and Bushy Graham, Claude Vonner, Balin Ballino, Leslie Wildcat Carter, and Johnny Pena, Alberto Baby Arizmendi, and Al Serto. I want to show you some of these fighters towards the end of this video, but just giving you somewhat of an idea of the opponents and the fighters themselves, what they went through during their career, and the fighters they were in the ring with. It's astonishing, to say the least. Let's take a look at Tony Canzanari and his career. Now, Tony Canzanari was born November 6, 1908, and he died December 9, 1959. He was a total of 5 world championship titles. From bantamweight to junior welterweight, he would put his world lightweight championship title on the line as he takes the junior welterweight championship title from a well-known fighter. But he takes the junior lightweight championship title from Kid Chocolate, November 20th, 1931, in 15 rounds, New York's Madison Square Garden. Now, what got Tony Canzanari to this point? He would face Andre Ratis, November 22nd, 1926, in Brooklyn, New York. It was at the Broadway Arena. He would defeat him in 12 rounds. The Broadway Arena, I have mentioned to you many times, was a very famous arena. Eastern Parkway was also in Brooklyn. Both arenas were in Brooklyn. He would take on Bushy Graham, New York's Madison Square Garden, defeat him in 10 rounds. Bushy Graham would be the AEF American Expeditionary Force fighter. He would lose that opportunity to Leo Patterson, who was a black fighter. But that same game's in 1919. We'd have the Fighting Marine, Gene Tunney, Faye Kaiser, who would be in the ring with Harry Greb 9 times, and Bob Martin, who would defeat Faye Kaiser. It was very good games in 1919. Tony Canzanari would be in the ring with Charles Bud Taylor, March 26, 1927, in Chicago. He would defeat him 10 rounds. They would call it a draw. It would be for the NBA Bantamweight Championship title. November 24th, 1927, he'd be in the ring once again with Charles Bud Taylor Chicago, Illinois. He would lose to him in 10 rounds and lose the NBA Bantamweight Championship rematch opportunity. He would face California's Joe Lynch, 10 rounds, defeating him. Be in the ring with Ed Anderson and Pete Saramento. He would stop Iowa's Joe Rivers at the Broadway Arena in 1 round. Pete Saramento, I'm going to show you him. He was a very good Filipino fighter. 1927, October 24th to be exact, to be in the ring with Johnny Dundee in New York's Madison Square Garden. He would defeat him for the World Featherweight Championship title in 15 rounds. Charles Bud Taylor, he would defeat in 10 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden, December 30th, 1927. He also faced Ignacio Fernandez in New York's Madison Square Garden. Fernandez was another very good Filipino fighter. I'll show you him as well. And he would face the fighters such as Jackie Kid Bird, Benny Bass, Billy Patrol, Eddie Kid Wolf, Johnny Farr, Sammy Fuller, Billy Patrol and Fargo Express, Al Singer, Joe Click, Tommy Rogan, and Phil McGraw, Andre Rochus, and Joey Sangor. He would lose his junior welterweight championship crown to Johnny Jadek in 10 rounds in Philadelphia, January 18th, 1932. But July 18th, 1932, he would lose the rematch to Johnny Jadek in Philadelphia for the junior welterweight championship crown. He would defeat Billy Patrol November 4th, 1932 in defense of his world lightweight championship crown in 15 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden. What a fighter Tony Canzanari was. He was very fast with his feet, fast with his hands, and he would be able to feint you from left to right. Punch down, look up, punch up and look down, and spin you. Fought with his hands down right in front of you, and you never knew when the punches were coming. Phenomenal fighter was Tony Canzanari. Now, after 2 losses to Chicago's Barney Ross, June 23rd and September 1933, he would lose the junior welterweight championship title and the lightweight championship title as well. Canzanari would then go on to defeat Alberto Baby Arizmendi, Pete Nebo, and Frankie Click. May 10th, 1935, September 3rd, 1936, Canzanari would win and lose the World Lightweight Championship crown to Lou Ambers in New York's Madison Square Garden. Ambers was the Jickamaya Hurricane. He would be cousins with a fighter who would become the welterweight champion of the world. And I didn't realize this. My fat dad used to tell me that all the time. But Lou Ambers was a cousin of Marty Servo. He would also take on a fighter by the name of Battling Battalino. Born February 8, 1908 in Hartford, Connecticut. He would die July 25, 1977 in Hartford, Connecticut. Battling Battalino stood 5 foot 6 inches and weighed 124 to 142 pounds. The men he was in the ring with was Freddie Miller, Al Singer, Kid Chocolate, Bushy Graham, Coco Kid, and Lou Macy, Charles Taylor, and Andre Rotis, Lou Feldman, Fidel Barber, Billy Patrol, and Barney Ross, El Maestro, Panama Al Brown, Louis Kid Kaplan was a devastating puncher. September 23rd, 1929, he would win the World Featherweight Championship crown from Andre Rotis. Now, Tony Canzanari would draw 10 rounds in his 40th bout, March 26, 1927, with Charles Bud Taylor for the vacant NBA Bantamweight Championship title. He would lose 10 rounds unanimous decision on a 44th professional bout, June 27th, 1927, to Charles Bud Taylor for the NBA World Bantamweight Championship title at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois. We won a New York Sack vacant crown and ring featherweight championship hardware, October 24th, 1927, and his 51st professional bout, facing the Scotch Wop Johnny Dundee at New York's Madison Square Garden. He would take a 15-round decision from the old master. He decisioned Philadelphia's future junior welterweight championship titleist, Benny Bass, 15 rounds. Let me correct that. He decisions Philadelphia's future junior world lightweight championship titleist, Benny Bass, 15 rounds. On his 57th professional bout, he would retain his New York sack and ring belt when he picked up the second crown wearing the lightweight championship title. It was the NBA World Featherweight Championship crown at New York's Madison Square Garden. On his 63rd professional bout, he would lose his New York sack NBA and ring hardware September 28, 1928, at the New York's Madison Square Garden to Frenchman's Andre Ratis, who stood 5 foot 4 inches. He was a bantamweight and a featherweight. Between December 14, 1929 and May 7, 1938, he would face, win, and lose his New York sack NBA World Lightweight Championship title and his Junior Welterweight Championship crown to Sammy Mendel in his 76th professional bout, Jackie Kit Bird in his 81st professional bout, Joe Click in his 88th professional bout, Billy Patrol of Fargo Express in his 92nd professional bout, Benny Bass in his 90th professional bout, Al Singer in his 93rd professional bout, Kid Chocolate in his 103rd professional bout, November 20th, 1931, 15 rounds, New York's Polo Grounds. The NBA, New York sack, Junior Lightweight Championship crown. And that would be a massive performance, as well as the Featherweight Championship crown. He'd be in the ring with Tommy Glogren in his 97th professional bout, Sammy Fuller in his 96th professional bout, Goldie Hess in his 91st professional bout, Johnny Farr and Phil McGraw in his 75th professional bout. I'm going to show you some of these fighters that Tony Canzanari was in the ring with. He was a phenomenal fighter, and he should be celebrated more often than he has been. His career was remarkable, as well as Kid Chocolate's. Tony Canzanari's on the scale with some great fighters. Here you have him on the scale with the great Johnny Dundee. Here you have him on the scale with Pete Saramento, phenomenal Filipino fighter. He's on the scale with Sammy Mendel. He's on a scale with Al Singer. Now this entire book is Tony Canzanari. I showed you a few pages once before. Let's take a look at Kid Chocolate, and then we'll show you some other opponents of Tony Canzanari. Now, Kid Chocolate was a fantastic fighter. This is the scrapbook of Kid Chocolate. I'm going to show you just 2 short pages of Kid Chocolate. What a fantastic fighter Kid Chocolate was. He really, really was. And like I said, it was a pleasure meeting Kid Chocolate. He could box and he could punch. Nactio Fernandez, very good Filipino fighter. Very good boxer, very, very good boxer. I'll tell you, Nino Donaire, Little Flash Alorte, Manny Pacquiao, Pancho Villa, all outstanding Filipino fighters. Many of them were southpaws. Pete Saramento, another very good Filipino fighter, was in the ring with these great fighters I just showed you. Mike Ballerino, Philadelphia. Oh, he was something else. Next to him is Speedy Dotto, another very good fighter during that time. Tommy Grogan, standing next to him is Goldie Hess. These are all fighters that were in the ring with the men you just looked at. Johnny Farr, if you ever heard of Bobby Pancho, this is Bobby Pancho. We talked about Petey Hayes from Brooklyn, New York. He was a feather. 1934, as you can see. Now I have close to 5,000 boxing cards total. And this is the man I want to show you. His name is Young Manuel. Young Peter Jackson from the Pacific Coast would take the title away from Young Manuel. Very good fighter he was. I don't know if I ever showed you some of my ring magazines. Ruby Goldstein, I met him personally. Very good fighter was Ruby Goldstein. He took on Sid Terrace at the New York Polo Grounds, and they closed down the Jewish community when he lost. He stopped in one round. Another phenomenal fighter, very hard puncher, knockout puncher, was Ray Miller out of Chicago. He was a lightweight. He was a phenomenal puncher. He was the referee, Sandy Sadler. Sandy Sadler would face Willie Pep. That's really what got Willie Pep out of New York, and then the license revoked. He took the dive from an up-and-coming fighter. But Ray Miller was also in the ring with Ray Robinson, Randy Turpin at the New York Polo Grounds. And Ruby Goldstein would be exhausted and had to be halted out of the ring. Shout out to Ray Miller. Pancho Villa. What an outstanding fighter he was. The Mighty Atom, Jimmy Wild. Midget War Gas, flyweight champion. He would defeat black belt Lario Valdez because Frankie Gennaro was too young to face Midget War Gas. He was 19, and New York SAC didn't recognize a 19-year-old to fight for a title. So although Frankie Gennaro was ranked number 1, and Lario Valdez was ranked number 2, Valdez had to skip over Gennaro and take on Wargas. Wargas was some fighter. When you were a 19-year-old, New York SAC recognized you as a 6-round fighter in New York. I'll show you one more fighter, the Scotch Wap Johnny Dundee. I have him ranked number 9, along with Benny Leonard and Tony Canzanari, my top 10 greatest fighters of all time. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticular Series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Thanks for watching. The complete history of boxing. We will continue in the next video. Be well. Thanks for watching. Peace.